All right, you guys. Once again, it's a privilege to introduce my speaker, or our speaker tonight. And she's a special woman. She brings a bunch of people here, experience, strength, and hope. Helps out in the community, and in AA, she's nothing but one of the best assets we've got. Alicia?
God, no pressure there, jeez. Oh, I'm Alicia, I'm an alcoholic. It's pretty amazing to be up here tonight, and I think Dick timed it perfectly with it being my 1 year, because this is an amazing day for me. I did not see this one coming this time at all. I didn't think I'd be sober again, because I had had some time sober. I didn't care if I was sober again. The world had gotten very dark and ugly, as most of us know. And so to be a year away from that, it's been an amazing day. So, where to begin? Let's see, I was born in San Antonio. Just kidding, that's a boring start. But yes, I'm from San Antonio. I went to private school for 10 years, went to San Antonio Christian School, like a good little Christian school girl. My father was a pastor and now is a missionary, so I was the preacher kid gone wild big time. And I came from the typical hypocritical Christian family home where everyone's screaming at each other before church, get in the freaking car, you know, and then we get to church and we're, praise the Lord, God bless you, good to see you, amen, my sweet children, you know, pulling your ear. And so I started to learn very early on how to kind of put this front on outside, that everything is fine, praise the Lord, thanks for having me, bless God, you know, when I'm dying inside. And at about 14, I remember just all the feelings that the book talks about, the loneliness, the anxiety, low self-esteem, the true beginnings of what this disease is, this darkness in here. And drank for the first time, and just like so many of us, that feeling went away. I was funnier, I was prettier, I could talk to the guys you wanted to flirt with, I could hang with the girls I was intimidated by, I had no fear. And I loved what alcohol did. And I remember thinking, I'm gonna be doing this for a long time. You know, I had finally found what worked. And by 17, my junior year, I transferred to MacArthur High School and started playing varsity sports there. I did sports my whole life, straight A student my whole life. The book talks about it. We're very intelligent people. We've got some of the most creative and gifted people in this room, very smart. But where it comes to alcohol and dope, we are strangely insane, you know? And that was me. So I get to MacArthur and I start hanging with the party crowd, start dating the head of the party crowd, so I thought I was really cool now. And at the end of my junior year, he broke up with me. And the ladies and I have discussed this men crap. It's like when I'm okay as long as there's a man. I'm not gonna tell him everything we talked about. I'm okay as long as there's a man, but as soon as he's gone, I fall apart. So at 17, when he breaks up with me, I didn't want to feel any of it. And so I set out that night just to get loaded, and I succeeded. My friends brought me home because I was in a blackout, out of control, and got in a fight with my mother. And I grabbed the keys, got in my car, and I hit a telephone pole on Harry Wurzbach, right where Oakwell Farms is, going towards 410 there, and hit a telephone pole going about 45 miles an hour. And what I'm told happened is I bit the steering wheel, so I broke the palate of my mouth, knocked out 4 teeth, shattered my nose bone from the inside, broke all the cartilage, bit off my bottom lip, ripped my cheek, broke my TMJ, lacerated spleen and liver, and broke a bunch of ribs. My Achilles tendon in this foot got stuck in that thing that moves your seat back and forth. And the dashboard dropped here, and I broke the tibia and fibula and dislocated the ankle to where it was touching the other one, which it shouldn't be like that. But so it was a bad day. It wasn't a very good idea to drink that day. But I wake up in the hospital. They took me to Brook Army Medical, to BAMC. I guess, anyway, you know where it is. And 19 hours of surgery to keep me alive. There was a 95% mortality rate with people with my kind of injuries. And I come to with my jaws wired shut, trach in my neck, arms tied down, both legs in a cast, and I have no clue what had happened. And once they told me what happened and I got to kind of see my face and the whole deal, I didn't want to live anymore. I didn't want to be alive. I couldn't walk, had to learn to walk again. High school's so cool, and the rumors were that I had had sex with so many guys that night that I was exhausted, and that's why I hit the telephone pole. I was like, do I want to be a drunk or a slut? I couldn't decide which one. But either way, kids were cruel, you know? I made it back to school my senior year, and I got made fun of horribly because of the way my face looked. Yeah, it was ugly. And got out, or graduated my senior year, went to Southwest Texas, or Texas State now as they call it. Not for any reason other than I took the SAT on LSD and the dots were moving and I didn't score very high, so I became a Bobcat. And I get up there to Southwest and I thought I'd found my people, man. This is a party school. And so I took it a step further and I joined a sorority, which is hilarious because I'm a poor white trash tomboy. I have, oh my God, no business in a sorority. I have no money, I got no nothing. And, but I jump in and oh my God, I played the game. And put on whatever mask they wanted me to wear. Lived in the sorority house the whole 9 yards. And I started to notice, as if I hadn't already, that my drinking was just a little bit different than these people. Yeah, it was a party school. But in this sorority, you're not even supposed to smoke standing up. It's not ladylike. So you can imagine how much trouble I got in, because I did a lot of things standing up, and it was very unladylike. Not that, that's not what I meant. But I danced on tables, things like that. But I got in a lot of trouble. And these girls would be downstairs eating dinner before we would go out, and I could never figure out why. They're eating, I'm upstairs taking shots and chugging beers just to get right, so that the anxiety and the nerves and all the stuff, because I want to have a good time, you know? And drinking got way out of control to the point where I dropped out and moved back home to San Antonio. And I met my first ex-husband. He had just gotten out of the penitentiary, 5 years straight, alcohol and dope charges. I knew him, he was one of the guys in our neighborhood, and I was friends with his little sister, and so I'd known him my whole life, been in and out of jail. And so he gets out of the penitentiary. He's got no car, no job, no money, does not take care of the 2 children he has, and he's all mine. It's like, who, you know, find me the sickest, neediest one, and it's like, I love him, you know, and I'm gonna fix him. And all the problems he had before will be gone, praise the Lord, because I'm gonna fix him. And that's not what happened. I assume it's okay if we can talk about drugs in here, right? They're all saying yes, so I'm gonna go for it. I had started doing cocaine a little bit before I met him, and again, something happens different to me when I put cocaine in my body than these people. That we'd get a small amount between 4 people to play some cards, and they're snorting a few lines and going, okay, I gotta work tomorrow. And here I am, doing this, chewing on baggies, licking CD covers. I mean, I'm just like, rrr. Something different happened with me, and I didn't understand what it was. I know now, it's that I'm wired different. I have an allergy to these substances. I say I'm just gonna drink this much, and it happens to be a whole lot more. I say I'm just gonna do a couple of lines and try to snort with my pinky raised like a lady, and I do a whole bunch of dope. Something's different with me. I didn't know that then, though. I just thought we were having fun. And so when my first ex-husband got out of the pen and we hooked up, he was a drug dealer and turned me on to crack. And I called the stuff devil poop, you know, because just as I thought I had already gotten pretty low and doing some crappy stuff around this disease, it got really, really dark. And the physical abuse with him began at 6 months. I stayed for 6 years. You know, the book talks about pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. And I know what those words mean to me. Any of us with this addiction, it takes us to places and we do the things we swore we would never do. And that was definitely me in that time frame there. Yeah, it was ugly. And at the end of 6 years, I'm 40 pounds underweight. I've gotten nothing. It's all gone. He's almost killed me 3 times. Some really, really bad things that happened to me, and I finally get away from him or whatever, and I tell my family I need some help. And I end up at a treatment center up in the hill country. And when I got up there, I mean, I had a trash bag full of clothes to my name. That was it. And I'm not bragging, but it was a lawn and leaf bag, so it's a good size amount of clothes. That was a joke. Yeah, thank you. But that's all I had. And so I get to treatment, and I'm just emaciated and bruised, and just, it's horrible. And yet, give me a little bit of food in my belly and a little bit of sleep, and all of a sudden, I'm looking for a date. You know, I'm looking around the treatment center to see who's cute and what's going on. It's sick. And yet that's what we do. The book says we can't bring into our mind the suffering and humiliation of even a week or a month ago. We're insane when it comes to our thinking. And so even after all this darkness had just happened, 2 days go by and my ego's already rebuilt. Some of y'all are quick cleaner-uppers, and that's the noose around our neck. We clean up quick, you know, because then the ego rebuilds, put a little weight on, and all of a sudden my head's saying it's going to be different this time. I jumped through the 30 days of treatment. I played the game. I was the secretary of the community. I took notes in the doctor's meeting. Again, I'm going to act like everything's all right. But nothing changed in here at all. Nothing. I just hadn't used for 30 days. I get out of treatment and move into a halfway house up there in the hill country. 60 days in to sobriety, I'm crawling out of my skin. I remember looking at myself in the mirror and just going, all right, girl, we can drink. Just don't do dope. How many of y'all heard that lie before? Yeah, it is a lie. Yeah, and the crazy thing is I'm looking at myself in the mirror, telling myself this, and I'm looking at the scars from what alcohol did. I know alcohol bad, you know, it is not good. And yet I had to get right. I had to get these feelings to go away. And I drank that night and only snorted Coke, so I thought I'd really done well. I really deluded myself that, okay, we got this. Within a month, I'm smoking crack again while living in this halfway house. I get out of the halfway house and got my own small apartment. I had found I actually started working for the treatment center that I went to. They needed someone to do the doctor's medical billing, and so Dr. Seal hired me out there to do the medical billing. And so now I'm working at a treatment center, living in my own apartment, smoking crack, and showing up to work each day like I'm sober. You know, making them think, even the patients asking me, God, Alicia, how do you do it? I know you just went through here a month or two ago. And here I am just like, it's easy, you know, because I haven't slept in 3 days. It was a nightmare. But again, I'm playing the game. Gonna smile like I'm okay, because I'm scared to death. And that relapse lasted about a year. And during that year, I divorced the first husband. He had gone back to the pen, and we didn't have anything to split, so it was an easy divorce. That was done. And then I meet my second ex-husband. He was also living in a halfway house smoking crack, so we already had something in common. It was great. It was love. And I had no idea, bless his heart, I had no idea he was kind of labeled as the chronic relapser of the hill country. I didn't know that he had struggled and gone to 20-something treatment centers, and everyone knew him. I just thought he was cute, you know, and we had crack in common, so I thought we'd last forever. So that begins another 6-month stint of crack addiction, that just when you think you can't go any further, you do, you know, and just when you think, after the 6 years with my drug dealing first ex-husband, I didn't think it could get any lower. I didn't think there was another level to darkness around this disease. And yet, when I hooked up with him, that's where we went. And at the end of 6 months of using, I just wanted to die. And I remember it was after a 3-day binge and just staring up at the ceiling going, God, if you are even there, I need your help. And I'd believed in God my whole life. I knew about God. I had the God stuff up here from all the private school crap and my dad and all that. But I had nothing in here. So even when I cried out, it was just like, nothing's going to be different. But something from that prayer gave me the strength to go to my first Cocaine Anonymous meeting. And he and I walked in together, and I got my desire chip. And women surrounded me. Here, you need a sponsor. Here's a big book. I mean, it was just amazing, the love I felt in the room. And that was my first real sobriety date, and that was January the 11th, 1999. You know, this next chapter is called Pride Comes Before the Fall. Because, anyway, I get sober. At about a year sober, I'm still dating number 2. We hadn't gotten married yet, but I found out I was pregnant, so I think it's a good time to talk about marriage, because I forgot to tell you, the first husband, I married him while he was in Bexar County Jail. I pretended I was a missionary intern, and I got to go up, the minister helped me get upstairs, and there he was in his orange suit. It was beautiful. We didn't get any pictures for the wedding album, but anyway, so that was my first marriage. This one, he's in treatment when I find out I'm pregnant. And I'm living in a garage apartment that wasn't much bigger than this. I had no job. Had no job, didn't have insurance. I didn't understand how I was going to have a child in this setting. And yet all I've ever wanted to be was a mom. All I've ever wanted to be was a mama. And so I knew somehow that this was all going to work out. Even if the dad was never going to be around or involved in his life, I knew that this was God's gift to me. And we ended up getting married, and my son Ethan was born May 22nd, 2001. And my second husband almost missed the birth. My son's asked me about this recently, and so it's kind of strange having to kind of change the story a little bit for him. But I went in to get induced because I was late or overdue, and my husband went home to go take a shower, you know, because nothing was happening, so he had time to go home and take a shower. And then they decided we needed to do an emergency C-section like 3 hours later, and no one could find him. He wouldn't answer the phone, and later, when he did show up to the hospital, his pupils were just donk, you know, and I can't imagine the shame that he was feeling, that here he is, his son's being brought into this world and he's high. And there was a pawn ticket with my son's birthday on it because he had gone to pawn some tools so that he could get high, so he could deal with the anxiety and the fear and all the insecurities he was feeling with this baby coming. So as this child's laid in my arms, I knew that it was just gonna be the two of us, and I was okay with that. Ethan was about 18 months when I got hired on at a treatment center in Hunt, Texas. They needed someone to come help out there, teach the steps. And I had jumped into this program sponsoring people, loved AA, fell in love with AA. Some of you guys, this is the first time you've been around and heard this stuff. God bless you. It can be the first and the last time you ever have to do this. This program is amazing. And what it offers, and the whole deal is, if I just help whoever the next person is, I'm gonna be okay. If I keep getting God to treat this darkness in here, I'm gonna stay sober. And it was beautiful to me that I finally had a purpose for all this darkness I'd been through. It was to help the next little crack addict coming in the rooms who was full of shame and couldn't look me in the eye. And I knew why, because I'd been there. So as I started to work at this treatment center, it was like the next level of what God was going to do with me. And I got to teach the steps. I mean, what an amazing job. I taught second and third step, and had some amazing experiences, met incredible people, got to watch God just change people's lives. And when Ethan was about 3, I ended up having to divorce his dad, because his addiction had just gotten so out of control, and Ethan was now starting to be affected, and I ended up having to go to Al-Anon because I got so crazy and sick around his disease. I was finally sober and doing well, but now I'm obsessed on him and his disease and where he is he coming home, and staring out the window for hours at a time hoping his car comes home, and I got crazy. And so I ended up in Al-Anon. And I didn't want to divorce him. I loved the idiot, I really did. And so when I go to Al-Anon, they're trying to help me separate the disease from the person, right? And Alicia, whatever's negative about him, you just need to say, hey, that's the disease. And whatever's positive, you need to say, that's him, that's God. And I'd be like, lady, the disease just stole my checkbook. It's like, all right, what do I do now, But Al-Anon helped save my sobriety at that time because I was getting crazy. And again, after some time, I had to go ahead and divorce him. And it was the hardest thing. As I walked into Heard County Courthouse with divorce papers, I'm crying. I doubt they see that very often. Usually people that get divorced, it's like, take this, get him out of here. But not me. I was just bawling as I handed him over. I didn't want to do it. But I knew it's what I had to do for my own sanity at the time and to protect my son. And, you know, right about that time, I just bought my first house. Here I am, the crackhead with the 8-page credit report and a trash bag full of clothes, who in a short amount of time, I get to buy my first home, and I'm a single mom raising my son in it. All this great stuff's happening. I started to speak for AA, become a circuit speaker, and God took me to Denmark, Iceland, London, Canada, all over the United States to share my story. It was incredible. But what's happening during that time is I'm kind of getting placed on this pedestal. I'm kind of taking on this identity of Miss AA, Susie Spiritual, whatever you want to call me. And as people are saying, God, you helped me so much. God, your story helped save my life. And I'm just like, stop it. Okay, tell me, you know. And my ego is starting to get big. Now, no one could tell me this. I wouldn't have heard anyone tell me this. This book just became words to me. I've got this thing memorized. From working at the treatment center for 8 years and teaching these steps, I can quote this book. And so they just became rote. The experiences I'm helping people have around God are kind of forced now, you know, but I'm still doing it, you know. I'm showing up. Praise the Lord. You know, I got this. And that began the fall, you know. God, if I could tell you guys anything that I hope that you hear, relapse happens way before you pick up that first drink or that first drug. I know some of y'all know that, but it took me some deep soul searching to look back and see exactly when this nightmare started for me. Because I didn't pick up a drink until 10 and a half years. And yet, I had to look all the way back at probably 6 years sober, if I'm honest, that I started to kind of get this Miss AA arrogance about me. And, you know, because of the car accident I've been in, I've got I've got arthritis, bulging disc, bone spurs. I've got all kinds of crap from the injuries I had. And so I was in a lot of legitimate pain. And so, you know where this story's going. And so the doctor says, you need something for that. And I say, okay. And he writes me a script for these wimpy little Darvocet. That's how it begins. And I tell my sponsor about it. I'm going to be honest about it with her. It's going to be okay. And I'm being as vulnerable or as transparent as I can at the time. But then the further I get away from God in here, the more I start to all of a sudden be in pain when I'm not really in pain. And all of a sudden I look at this bottle and it says, oh, I can take 1 to 2 every 4 to 6 hours, you know? So it's like, I think I need 2 each time. Pretty soon Darvocet becomes a joke. And I get a different doctor in Kerrville and get on, I think it was Bicoprofen, which is basically hydrocodone with ibuprofen in it. And I start with that. And again, I'm showing up to work. Praise the Lord. I'm helping people. I'm helping these poor opiate addicts who are struggling in treatment while I'm chewing 5 at a time before I go do lecture. Then, apparently doctors don't like to give you more meds if you're out before you're supposed to be. So I was like, well, this isn't working. So I needed to come to San Antonio and find a pain management doctor, but not tell the doctor in Kerrville that's what I was doing. So I got 2 doctors going now. Now I'm on Norco down here, and Soma, and God, what else? I had them lined up, all still while working at the treatment center. So I sell that home that I was living in. God takes me to a bigger home, a nicer neighborhood, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, beautiful home, backyard. Ethan and I, we're doing amazing on the outside. And now I'm starting to eat, you know, about 240 of these bad boys and things. Now I'm starting to kick into some withdrawal stuff, which I'd never felt before. And it was like, oh crap, what is this? So then we're going to change. We're going to get on Suboxone and do better with that. And then the Suboxone, y'all know the drill. Or if you do, it sucks. and none of it was working. And yet I'm not telling anybody. I'm not getting honest with anyone. I've quit going to meetings because I hate all those dry AA folks in there, the old timers with their one-liner bull crap. I'm judging all these people because I'm sure they're judging me and talking about me, so I'm gonna judge them first. I quit sponsoring women because I just had too much going on. Quit speaking, but I'm still sober. And the summer of '09, the two girlfriends of mine that I had made in recovery, my two best friends who got sober together, I used to sponsor them. One was the godmother of my son. We were very close. They were all mixed up in their own pill addiction too while being sober. And that summer we went to the lake. Oh, let me back up. Maybe about 5 years, I was in a relationship with a guy that he was supposedly sober and in the program, different guy. I divorced number one, divorce number two, we got this guy that comes on. Y'all following? Okay, good. That's pathetic. Anyway, I knew it wasn't a good relationship. I knew it wasn't the right thing I was supposed to be doing, but here I am, a single mother who doesn't get child support, and so anyone helping financially and not having to be alone, another healthy reason for getting in a relationship. He is not sober and had a bunch of pills, and he drank, only had 2 drinks each night so he could control it. And it used to drive me crazy. I could tell when he came over and he'd had a few drinks because he was just different. He was calmer. And he'd kiss me and I could taste the Crown Royal on my tongue. This is before I'd ever drank. And it was just, ooh, it's like I felt like I was just being a bad little girl. This is exciting. And so this thrill, this idea began that I bet you I can drink. You know, these pills, there's too much trouble now. I bet I can drink while still working at the treatment center. And so we went away one weekend to the lake, and that's exactly what I did. I had my first drink after 10 and a half years, and it was the strangest sensation. This is the delusion of my disease. When I took that first drink, this sadness came over me that I actually was gonna have to change my sobriety date. Now, do you think I should have had to change it for the pills? Yeah, but my delusion was now that I finally drank, now I had to change it. And God, guys, after a month after taking that first drink, I was drinking a big old thing of Bacardi 70 proof each night and having to take shots in the morning to get the shakes down before going to work at the treatment center and teaching second and third step to these poor alcoholics who were struggling. I mean, I've been playing a game most of my life on do it okay and making everyone think I'm all right, but this was serious stuff. I'm messing with people's lives here. My job God had given me was to help these people. And now I'm standing up there and they're looking up to me and I'm lying. And thought I was controlling it, thought I was pulling it off. And then 3 months after that first drink, it's Halloween. And I always dress up with my son. And so we were coming to San Antonio from Kerrville, and I'm dressing him up, and I remember putting on whatever stupid costume I was gonna wear. And my sister, my family knew I'd started drinking, and I tried to convince them that everything was okay, but she wasn't gonna have alcohol at her house for Halloween if I was coming. And so of course, being the good alcoholic I am, then I need to drink like 3 big, stiff, huge drinks before I get on the road, because she won't have any there. And so I remember putting these stupid extensions, clip-on extensions in my hair and putting makeup on Ethan, face makeup, and he was 8 years old at the time. And the next thing I remember is the cops are knocking on my window and my son is screaming in the back seat, "Mama, I told you to quit swerving." And I come to and I've hit a car on Halloween night, children walking everywhere. He is shaking and screaming, and I didn't get to say goodbye to him. I get thrown in the car. I didn't do any of the tests. Anyway, didn't get to say goodbye and get thrown in jail. DWI, obviously. And when I got out, I still was thinking, I got this, we'll just get through this one. My ex-in-laws had come to pick up my son. And that following Monday, I'm on the front page of the Kerrville Daily Times, and there's my jail picture. And so that was going to cause a problem with the job. It's like cat's out of the bag now. I'm not doing well. And so I lose the job. Then I get a call from CPS. And I get child endangerment charges. It's a felony DWI. And let's go back to the day my son was born and God put him in my arms and I knew he and I were going to be together forever. And yet this disease takes me to a place that I could have endangered his life. And he gets taken from me. And he goes to live with my ex-in-laws. And I jump into a treatment center just like, okay, I'll do whatever. And I did 30 days standing on my head. Nothing changed. I come home. My house is being foreclosed on. My car's getting repossessed. My son is gone. I got nothing. And I didn't want to live. I didn't want to be sober. I'm just going to fast forward here real quick, guys. It took me, I got my son back. I jumped through the hoops, though, that they wanted me to jump through. I played CPS's game and smiled and sounded good. Again, I knew how to work it while I was still drinking. Guys, that's the thing with this disease. It's like if the whole problem we've got is internal, and then my head says, you need a drink or something to change how you feel, then I put that drink in my body, and now my craving kicks off. Now I want more than what my head told me to drink. Then the book says I pass through a spree. Then I emerge remorseful. Look what's happened to me. I can't believe this. My son, I'm a horrible mother. Now I'm right back in this darkness. And all I know to do to make that pain go away is to drink. And I have no power in my life to do anything different. If love of children was enough to get us sober, there would be no parents in this room right now. Normal people don't get that. They don't understand that. If she loved her son, she wouldn't do that. If she really loved her kids, she wouldn't do that. That's a bunch of bullshit. Excuse my language, but it is. Normal people don't get it. I love my son with everything. And yet this disease, it takes away anything that's important to us. It is life or death, not just for us, but for those around us. I couldn't do anything at that moment, though. I could have, but I made the choice not to work the steps, not to seek God, just to jump through hoops again and fake it. And in turn, I kept drinking when I got home from treatment. I get Ethan back because I jumped through the hoops. He's only with me a month. And someone calls CPS and said she's drinking. CPS calls. I go in and see him. Are you drinking? I lied. I said I drank one night. I said, sign him over again. It's just, no. I just got him home. He had just gotten settled back into his room. As if the first confusion wasn't enough. I can't imagine his little heart just going, Mama, if you love me, you must not want me here. Why do you keep doing this? He gets taken again. I freak out. I panic. I've got to leave Kerrville. It's CPS and Kerrville's fault. It's my ex-boyfriend's fault. I was blaming everyone, and somehow was able to get out of Kerrville, move home to San Antonio to live with my mother. CPS allowed her to be the safety plan person, and so we're living with my mom. I'm still drinking. Still drinking. I had the breathalyzer in my car after I got the DWI. I'm planning my drinks around when this blower is going to go off. I mean, I am insane. I'm chugging. I've gone from this 70 proof whatever to cheap ass wine with the twist off tops, man. I'm chugging the little bottles and shoving them under my seat before I go pick my son up from school. I couldn't stop. I didn't care if I stopped. I just didn't want to live anymore. Getting suicidal every time I drank. It was so dark. Ethan sitting out, I would literally be drinking in my closet, and Ethan would be sitting outside the door, Mama, please don't be drinking, please don't be drinking, please. And he'd open the door and would just scream in his little heart. And all I could do is I'm holding this huge jug, is just chug the best that I can, because I don't want to hear these voices telling me how horrible I am. I don't want to look into his little eyes, and I can't do it. I don't want to be alive anymore. And something changed on, September 14th. I was pretty much done. And the next day, God said, I'm not finished with you yet. This is not the end of the story, young lady. And I picked up the phone and I called someone for help, and they whisked me off to a treatment center in California, a women's trauma unit. I guess graduated to a trauma center at this point. And when I got there again, I thought, I'm doing 30 days. I can do 30 days. You know, I said goodbye to my son. I had to leave him with my ex-husband, the ex-husband number 2. Number 1's been in prison the whole time. But number 2, he was hanging on, and he wasn't sober, but he was dry. And so I thought, okay, he's a safe place to leave my son with for right now. I had no choice if I was going to go get help. The job I had at the time said, you've got 30 days. 31 day, you're not back. 31st day, you lose your job. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll be back in 30. I get up there, and within 3 weeks, I realized there's no freaking way I'm going to make it if 30 days is all I get. And it was a 90-day treatment center anyway. So at that moment, I had some choices to make with me and God. And there was a surrender and a brokenness that came inside me that I didn't expect. I did not know how any experience was going to be different. If I've got this book memorized, how am I going to have a new experience around the 12 steps? If I've already taught this God crap, how am I going to have a new experience with God? I can quote you the scriptures. I can do whatever. How am I going to have an experience this time? And at that 3 weeks in, I made the decision to stay 90 days. And the relationship I was in that was so sick and unhealthy, I hung up the phone on him one day in treatment and never talked to him again. That meant no more money. That meant I was going to be alone. That meant I didn't care. Hung up. Ethan had to stay with my ex-husband for 2 more months. And during that time, he ended up using again, actually. So my ex-in-laws tried to get CPS involved again, and it was a nightmare. But I knew if I went home, I was going to get drunk, so I trusted God with that little baby. I knew I was going to lose my job if I didn't go back, but I didn't care. I knew God had something bigger. That meant my car's going to get repossessed. Take it. God, what do you want me to do? What do I have to do to be the woman you've had for me to be? I don't want to live this way anymore if this is it. I surrender. Guys, I never did a surrender like that before. That last time around, I was willing and ready. And I tell you what, God showed up. He knocked the crap out of me and showed up. It was the most amazing 90 days of my life once I turned that corner and surrendered. I got a sponsor who told me we were going to read 4 pages in the big book each day, and then I was going to journal on it. And the big book school I'm raised in up in Kerrville, you don't do that. You get through the steps quickly. You don't have time to waste, blah, blah, blah. And so, of course, being Miss AA that I am, I told her she was sponsoring me wrong. And she laughed at me. She said, shut up, 4 pages a night and journal on it. Guys, I had an experience with the forewords. I had an experience just weeping at what God has done through Alcoholics Anonymous. Bill's story, crap came alive to me that I had seen 100 times, but it never made sense. Do you know that it says in this book, commencing to drink after a period of sobriety, we are in bad shape? Or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. I'd read that. I'd done lectures on that freaking paragraph. And yet it was like, oh my God, that's me. I get to We Agnostics, which is the chapter I used to teach, that it's all up here. And I fell in love with God. I got it. This whole program is spiritual. End of story, bottom line. That's all it's about. It is not religious. It is a spiritual guide to get me to the spirit, the power that's going to change my life. That's all it is. By the time I left treatment, and I wept every day, especially when we did some serious work around the deal with me and Ethan. When I got done, I was so filled. I couldn't even talk towards the end of treatment because I'm so filled with God's love. And that sounds cheap. Oh, you got God's love. No, I'm not kidding. I wanted to love his kids. I didn't care who it was. It was like, I'm excited, God. I'm going home to no job, no son, no car. What do you got for me? What are we going to do? So I get home to no job, no car, ex-husband using. Ethan freaked out to be around me, but I didn't care. I was like, okay, let's do this. I'm ready. And I guess for some reason he thought I should spend 2 weeks in Kerr County Jail because I get home sober, find out there's a warrant for my arrest. They're revoking my probation. And my probation officer says, since you went to treatment, all you got to do is come on a Wednesday, turn yourself in, you'll be out by Friday. They'll just get you on the docket and go. Well, I didn't make it on the docket. So 2 weeks later, and I'd never been in jail before except for that one night. I mean, there was some Mexican mafia chicks and some girls going back to TDC for their 4th time. And I'm sitting there watching Lifetime television with them all, just like, what am I supposed to be doing? So I did the cool thing. I started doing push-ups, thinking that's what you're supposed to do. I'm doing dips on the, the metal seat. Anyway, I didn't fit in very well with that group. But here's the deal, though. When I told Ethan, I just get home from treatment, and now I had to tell Ethan, okay, Mommy's got to go to jail. I know this doesn't make sense, but I'm leaving on Wednesday. I'm coming home on Friday. I even drove myself to jail, my own car. My mom helped me get my car out. And I really thought I was coming right home. And I have no way to call my son and make sure he knows, no, Mommy didn't mess up again. I'm okay. And guys, I'm in there crying, just playing handball by myself in the rec area. And just going, God, I don't get this. I don't understand it. I don't like it, but I trust you. I hate this. I don't understand it. I'm scared, but I trust you. And when I got out, it turned out they were going to have to revoke my probation because I had like 16 violations on my blower from trying to start the car in the morning after I drank that night. That's how much I was drinking. And because there was proof that I'd relapsed while on probation, they were going to have to revoke it. But since I did these 2 little teeny weeks and this is exciting to me. But anyway, since I had done these 2 little weeks in jail, they took that as time served instead of giving me 6 months, which is what they were going to give me. And it just made me go back to hitting and playing handball. I don't like this. I don't understand this, but I trust you. Then I get out of jail. The first call I get is from a gentleman named Brad Duforn, who was a patient, had gone through La Hacienda in 2005 when I worked there. Hadn't talked to him again in 7 years. And he said, Alicia, I hear you've had some struggles. I know you probably don't remember me, but I've got a little nonprofit that I'm running down here in San Antonio, and we could really use your help. I call him up immediately. Next thing I know, I'm working for Pay It Forward Ministries down here at Haven for Hope. I don't understand this. I don't understand the plan. They said, we don't know if we can even pay you right now. There's no insurance benefits, but we just want you to see if you're interested. And I walked on this campus, guys, and I knew this was the place. This is where I'm going to try to do my best to give some hope to the hopeless. This is where I'm going to try to help the mamas out there understand that they are not bad mothers, that they are wonderful mothers who are just sick and need God. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to help the homeless that can't get into sober living because they don't have the money. I'm going to try to help them so that they can find a safe place to live. And here we are a year later. I don't understand. I mean, it is amazing what God has done in this time. And there's been some crap that's happened. This hasn't been just like skipping around. I'm a single mother who doesn't get child support. Things are not easy. My son's had a lot of stuff he's had to go through trying to heal. But the other day, I was taking him somewhere, and I said, God, it's such a miracle what God has done. And Ethan said, you are a miracle, Mom. And I said, I always think about what we went through and what I put you through, and I'm so sorry. And he said, Mama, don't worry about it. It was just a bump in the road. What I thought he said was, Mom, don't worry about it. You were just a drunk in the road. And I looked at him and I was like, what'd you say? And I told him, he's like, no. Well, you were, but that's not what I mean. I know today that all of us, and I've told y'all this before, some of you ladies especially, which these are my ladies over here. I get to go over every Wednesday and sit with them and talk with them, and I love it. And it's the joy, it's the highlight of my week and the blessing, lady, for what I get to do out here. We are all part of God's Special Forces unit. We are. If you think about the Special Forces, those are the big guys, the big dogs that you send in no matter, that are going to get the job done. God has picked and chosen each one of us. All this crap that we've been through, all of this darkness, guys, it is not in vain. We are the only ones that are going to be able to help that crying, beat up, homeless crack addict that doesn't know what he's going to do, how he's going to get better. You're the one God picked. You're the one that's chosen to carry that message. How important is that? The book says on page 124 that cling to the thought that in God's hands the dark past is the greatest possession you have, the key to life and happiness for others. With it you can avert death and misery for them. all of this crap you've been through, guys. Each of us have our dark places. Some of y'all, your stories break my heart that anyone would have to go through those sort of things. But what I do know is there's a God out there that's gonna take it and use it. If we suit up and show up and turn around and show God's love to whoever the next one is, there's a purpose for all of it, every bit of it. If I didn't have CPS in my life, how would I be able to help the mamas over here that do? I know what it feels like. I know the shame that it carries. I know the voices in your head that tell you that you don't even deserve those children. I get it. But I also know the healing God's done today, and that's what I get to talk about. How many of y'all, I recently read the book, The Shack, and I know it's been out for a long time, but I hadn't read it before. And there's a part in there that the guy's talking to God, and he says, but God, weren't you disappointed in me all those times I screwed up? All those times I made the wrong choices, and God said, no. Because I saw what was going to happen to you. And I knew on the 49th chance, you finally made the right decision and you turned to me. So when you screwed up on the 47th, I got excited, God says, because I knew we were closer to 49. Every wrong choice we've made, every decision that's brought pain, God knows that it's around the corner when we're going to finally do that turn and go, all right, Daddy, I'm done. Pick me up. I don't want to do this anymore. No matter where we've been or what we've done, God has not given up. And for me, I'm a Christian. It's Jesus Christ that loved me the same the day I got the DWI as the day I was born. He died on that cross for the same little girl who had done nothing wrong and the one that almost could have killed her son in the car. It doesn't matter. The love is unconditional and runs deep. And we have a responsibility to join together on this Special Forces team and go help the hurting and the dying. Thank you guys for letting me share my birthday with you.
Hey, well, you guys, I think that's why I call it Haven for Hope around here. Thanks, Alicia. Thank you very much.
Father,